Hello and welcome to this session, friends. My name is Yogesh. Today we are going to discuss on migrating MySQL database and application components from legacy infrastructure to AWS cloud. As a sysadmin or DevOps engineer, it's always good to know these things. I have divided migration into phases. First phase is evaluation. In this phase, we evaluate whether target platform is secure, scalable, and meeting all the requirements. Then we plan the migration. So we do what actually need to be migrated, what all dependencies are there, and what are the compute requirements. Also, what are the security consideration. Then we prepare a migration plan. Next phase is test the migration. So in this phase, we work on the migration plan, we implement it, and we test our migration approach. Then next phase comes, which is functional and performance testing. In this phase, we perform functional and performance testing to ensure that target infrastructure or the target setup is as per expectations. Next step is final migration. In this step, we sync the delta between source and target, or you can do complete refresh from source to target depending upon your requirement or your migration strategy. Last step is cutover. In this step, we cut off from the existing system and point everything to new target system. I have prepared a lab setup here. In current platform, I got VMware VM running CentOS 6.8, and it got one Intel Core i3 2.4 GHz virtual CPU with 1 GB RAM. IP address is 90.10.10.50, and database is MySQL 5.1. And web component, I got Apache 2.2 on that VMware machine. And target platform, I have chosen Amazon Instance T2 Micro, and it is running with Red Hat 7.2. It got one Xeon 2.5 GHz processor with 1 GB RAM. And I'm using Amazon's public IP, which is 54.218.159.220 in my scenario. And database, I got MySQL Community Server 5.6 and Apache 2.4 as web component. One thing I want to share, friends, when you are planning or working on target infrastructure's compute requirement, just keep in mind you have to check what is the load on your existing setup. Let's say your existing setup got 24 vCPUs or CPUs and 160 GB RAM. This is not a hard rule that you have to select similar configuration on your target side. You can check what is the actual load on your system and what is the hardware on target side which can meet that requirement. So maybe you can save your money by selecting appropriate compute on Amazon site. So friends, to begin with technically, this is session I'm opening to my existing setup. Okay, here I go to MySQL. Let me show you. MySQL 5.1.73, this bit. And let me show you Apache also. Apache is 2.2.50. Okay. So I'm logging into my database so I can show you what are the databases I have created and what are the tables. Okay, this particular server got 4 databases at present. Let me show you content of this database. Not content, basically tables. Selecting this database. Running show tables command to list the tables. So friends, database MyLabDB got one table and table name is employee. I'm quoting from here. and in Apache configuration I go to these web pages. I go to page index.php. So friends, I'm using PHP to communicate with my database. So my web browser will send query to PHP and PHP will get that information from database. Let me show you content of this file. Here, so this page is HTML page, starting with HTML, then it goes to PHP query. This is the database credentials, database name. This is the connection string, this one. This one is the connection string. So once PHP successfully connect with database, it will display this message, connected to database successfully. Later, this is the SQL query which I am running, show tables from DB name, $DB name, and $DB name is MyLabDB. So if everything works fine, it will display tables from database MyLabDB. And let me show you on my graphical session. So this is the URL which I entered. If you see, it successfully connected to database, and this is the database name and this is the table. So this is my existing setup, friends. Okay, to migrate it, we have to take backup of existing setup. So in this case, we will take backup of MySQL database and web component, which is our web pages. That may differ scenario to scenario what actually you need to backup. This is only lab setup, so I'm explaining whatever I have prepared and relevant to this particular session. I'm creating a directory called migration. It's already existing. Let me delete existing directory. I want to create a new one. Okay, I'm creating it again. So directory is created. First thing, to take database backup, I'm going to use MySQL dump utility, and here I'm typing password. So all data of database is in this file now. I'm compressing it using gzip. So this file is compressed. Let me show you a new file. It's called .gz extension. Now I'm doing a tar of my web component directory, which is var www, pressing enter. Okay, this is done. Okay, so let me show you contents which I got in my migration directory now. It got database backup, and this got application or web services HTTP backup. Okay, so next thing, friends, I have to copy all the data to my AWS instance. I have already created a T2 micro instance, and that is running with Red Hat 7.2. And I'm using SCP to transfer this data to my AWS instance. If you see, I am specifying -i and PEM file. This is my identity file which EC2 user use for passwordless connection. Pressing enter here. Depending upon your data size and your connectivity speed, it may take some time or it may finish quickly. So in my case, speed is good and data is very small, only 500 KB, so it's finished. Okay, data is copied. So friends, let me open session to my Amazon instance. This is a public IP. I'm connecting as EC2 user, and this is my identity file. Pressing enter here. Okay friends, I am connected. If you see, this is the MOTD message which is displayed on my screen. Like, this is AWS instance. If you want to confirm it is AWS instance or not, you can run dmid code -t1. If you see here, this is Amazon instance. This is HVM demo, means this is hardware virtualization machine. Okay, so first thing, friends, we need 3 components on this machine. One is MySQL server. Second is, for Apache web page, we need HTTPD. And third thing, we need PHP, because we are using PHP to test the connection between web page and database. So I'm going to install yum install MySQL server, HTTPD, then PHP, and PHP MySQL. PHP MySQL is extension for php MySQL commands. Pressing enter here. So these components are getting installed now. It will finish quickly. Okay, installation is done, friends. So next thing, we have to enable these services. In this case, we have to enable MySQL and HTTPD service, and we have to start them. So here, if you see, this service is enabled, MySQL Apache is enabled, then I have started MySQL service and started Apache. So these services are started and enabled. Next thing, friends, for MySQL fresh installation, as I discussed in my previous videos, we have to run secure installation. This is the command MySQL _secure _ installation. Pressing enter here is saying enter your current root password. This is fresh installation on Amazon. I'm pressing enter because there is no password. It is asking whether you want to set up a new password, root password. Yes, I'm typing my new root password, re-entering it. Remove anonymous user. Yes. Disallow remote root login. No, I don't want to use, and this is test case. And remove test database. Yeah, remove it. Reload privilege. Yes. Okay, privilege table is reloaded. Okay, so something was read here. What is this? Error, can't drop test database not exist. So not sure why this error came. Maybe something, but I'm not bothered about this because I'm going to restore my own database from source server. Okay, so here, friends, next thing we have to do, I'm just going to temp/migration directory. This is the directory where we have scp the files from source system, which is our existing database and web server. Okay, these are two files. This is database backup and this is application backup. So I'm doing gunzip to database backup file, and here I'm doing tar-xpf to my application or web pages. Okay, so this is done. If you see, this is a database SQL file. First thing, I have to restore my database. To restore it, that's very simple, friends. MySQL -u, sorry. To restore it, MySQL -u username root -p, and here inverter and my SQL file. Pressing enter, which is asking me my root password. So root password entered, and my database is restored. To verify whether it got restored or not, simply connect to database and run command show databases. Okay, if you see, this database got restored. I'm going to select this database, use this database, enter, and let me show you table. It should have one table name employee. So it is giving error. Sorry, friends, it's my mistake. It showed tables, not table. If you see, employee table is there, so it means our database restored successfully. Okay, now next thing, we have to restore our web components. Here in this directory, I have already untarred this one, so I'm just seeding into this one. It's called www directory. I'm moving this directory to var. Okay, replacing it. It is saying it can't be overwritten. No issue. So I'm removing my existing one, which is newly created. Okay, and writing to it, moving it again. Okay, it is moved now. So let's verify the content of that directory. It must have one web page with name index.php. Yeah, it's there. So friends, our data is restored. Now what I will do, I will restart my services. So first thing, we need to restart database first, then Apache, because Apache is going to use MySQL. It got dependency on that one. So So systemctl restart MySQL d dot service. That's Red Hat 7. If you are using Red Hat 6, simply service name restart. It is giving error. Restart MySQL d dot services. Again, it's my mistake. It's service, not services. Okay, service is restarted. Now let's restart our Apache httpd dot service. Okay, so friends, service is restart. Okay, now to test whether our application and database functioning properly, you can do one thing. You can open browser and put your public IP, because to connect to web component. This is the old one. This is my existing setup. It's still running. I have not changed anything. Connected to database successfully, and this is the database name and this is the table name. So it means our migration is working. So now friends, depending upon your requirements, you can do performance testing. In performance testing, you can test maximum number of connections. You can put load on your database. You can run multiple functional testing queries or performance test queries. Once you're satisfied, you have to do cutover. Cutover means right now these are two different servers running same application. So now let's say today is the day we are going to do cutover, and we have already synced the data between these two servers. If you have to sync again, you can take MySQL backup again as we taken before. Just restore it on the day of cutover or whatever like your plan. Okay, so now friends, for cutover, what I have to do, let me show you here. I'm just jumping to my putty session again. Sorry. Okay, so I'm here. If I do ns lookup, this is my website, right? Which all users are using. So I'm doing ns lookup on this one. ns lookup command not found. Okay, this is Amazon instance. No issues. Let me run, because by default it not got these packages. I'm running it on my existing server. If you see, it is pointing to IP 90.10.10.50. So for cutover, what I have to do, I have to point it to my Amazon IP, which is 54.218.159.220. And let me show you how we can do it quickly. Let me show you current configuration. Let's look up this particular IP. If you see, this is Amazon. This is Amazon public IP. But for me to cut over, I have to point or connect this IP with this particular website. And I'm using my own DNS server here, 90.10.10.20. So to do so, I'm just opening one new session, connecting to my DNS server as root user, or you can choose user whatever in your setup. Okay, so here in my server, friends, I'm going to modify forward and reverse lookup files. Okay, in this file I'm going to change this particular web entry to my DNS public IP, which is of Amazon IP, and IP is 54.218.159.220. Okay, this is done, and here I have to create one A record. I have to replace this bit because this is no more required. In case you have to restore, you can add back these DNS entries. Forward lookup file is done, so let's modify reverse lookup file. Okay, in this one again I had to get rid of this IP because this is my old IP. I want to point it to my new server. Enter this IP, and here instead of 50 it will be 220 now because IP is ending with 220. Okay friends, changes are done. Okay, so let me show you quickly again. This is the IP, this is the DNS entity, and let's look up on this one. This is pointing to 50. Now I am reloading the DNS configuration. It's RNDC reload. Okay, it's successful. Now do NS lookup here. So now if you see, this entry was earlier pointing to 90, 10, 10, 50. Now it is pointing to Amazon IP. Okay, so to validate the configuration, I'm just selecting this DNS record here, and I'm just closing this web page and opening one new web page and entering IP. If you see, now we are using our Amazon web server. It is successfully connecting to Apache page, and through PHP all the database queries are getting performed. So friends, our migration is done. You can run this setup, and in case you have to revert back, only thing you have to do, you have to sync back your data from your Amazon instance to your VMware, and you can follow same approach if you want, or you have to sync it back. I believe it is not required, but in case you are planning to back out, you can just sync it back and modify DNS record. That's it. And thanks for watching this session, friends. If you have any query or any suggestion, just leave a comment on my YouTube channel. I will try to respond as soon as possible. Stay tuned to my channel for new updates. Thank you. Bye bye.